Good morning, Jus4SweetZ here. Today we are going to make a banana caramel tart, and it's just a really quick, yummy recipe. Only requires 3 ingredients, and you can serve this for dessert after any meal. You can serve it with ice cream, whipped cream, or just serve it plain by itself. So I'm actually kind of doing a dessert 911. It's stuff I have in my house. The original recipe, they usually use a puff pastry, and I don't have puff pastry, so I'm actually going to use good old crescent rolls. And you can use, as long as it's a crescent roll dough. They even make a flat sheet crescent roll. You could do that as well. But I just have regular crescent rolls. I have a little cookie sheet, but if you have like a tart pan or something else you want to make it in, you can do that as well. I have 3 little cups of caramel. Now, you do not have to use these. You can use the ice cream topping caramel in the jar. This just happens to be what I have in my home. So I'm actually going to use those on top of it. And let's get started. Now, normally with crescent rolls, you do not need to grease the pan, but because there's caramel and stuff, I want to just make sure that we can lift it out of the tray. And before you start all this, make sure you put your oven on 375 degrees. And we have 3 bananas here as well. That's what's going to go on top of this. We're going to use this whole container of crescent rolls. Now, sometimes I'm lucky and they come out as a sheet, and sometimes if they've been in the fridge for a while, they come out as a glob, and then you can roll them out. You can kind of mash them together like a dough, which is what I've done before, and just kind of form it. But since these are kind of still together, I'm just going to roll them out onto my tray. Hopefully you can see this. Let me make sure, yeah. And what you want to do is you want to kind of take your fingers and seal those lines together, because you don't want those to break apart. So you want to mesh it together really well so that you have them cooking into one sheet and not separating like the crescent rolls do. Okay, so we got that. Let's do our second one here. If we can find the beginning. That's the trickiest part. All right, let's roll these out and do the same thing here. Take this, mesh all these lines together, and it does not have to fit the whole tray, so don't worry about doing that. This is not a dessert that, is perfect and so elegant. I mean, you can make it that way if you want to, but we're doing something quick that you could make for a, if you're going to a barbecue or a party and you need to bring a quick dish. This is something you can make that everyone would enjoy, and you can cut it into little pieces or whatever, or you're just making it for home and serving it with some ice cream. All right, so I think we have all these together pretty well. You want to make sure, because sometimes they're tricky and they still will separate, but I think overall, as long as you mesh that dough together and kind of your fingers will naturally warm it, kind of put it in there. I love crescent rolls. You can use it for so much. I rarely use them as a roll, if that makes sense. A lot of times I'll make, I used to make my kids pigs in a blanket, if anybody remembers those. And this has powdered sugar all over it. I really don't use dirty stuff. I've already made one that I took out of the oven that I can show you. But pigs in a blanket, I've used them for, you can make like a vegetable pizza out of these. I've made a breakfast pizza out of these. And actually I lied, there is one more ingredient. I just grabbed some powdered sugar, and you don't want to use a lot. I'm just using a little bit. And I'm rubbing it on there. Now, if you want, a good thing to do is to put some powdered sugar once you grease that. When you put the spray grease on the pan, put some powdered sugar on the bottom of the pan. I actually forgot to do that. And then that'll help prevent it from sticking as well. But I'm just adding a little bit of powdered sugar. Just rub it on there. Okay. See how they start to separate? You can kind of see where they will separate. Okay. Now what we're going to do is we're going to take our 3 bananas. And if you have larger bananas, you don't have to use 3. I just have really tiny bananas. Actually, my daughter's upset with me because I just bought them for her eating healthy way of life, and I'm using them for dessert. So I have to buy her more bananas today. But I'm going to go ahead, and as you can see, and I want to make sure you're seeing this, they're being cut at a diagonal. So once you cut them at a diagonal. You're going to want to put them about a ½ inch from each corner or each side. Okay, so let's move this over here and I'll show you. I just take the knife and go like that. Just cut it at a diagonal. I have powdered sugar all over my counter from earlier. I was rolling out my dough because it didn't come out of the container so well. And you just want to place those bananas on there like so. Okay? And you can see why I need 3. I have these little tiny bananas. And, I didn't even take that one out very well. But this is a really quick dessert. I mean, you can do this in like 5 minutes. The most time it takes is the baking portion, which only takes about 15 minutes. And like I said, make sure you have that oven going right now at 375 degrees. Let's get the rest of this banana. I mean, these don't have to be even pieces, but the more even, the better. You know, you want to try to cut your fruit when you're baking somewhat at the same level. And you know, every inch of this does not have to be covered because we're going to cover the top of this with some gooey caramel. So you're going to get caramel in between anyway. This is a delicious, yummy, quick, hardly any ingredient dessert that'll look like you spent so much time on it. So let's keep piling these bananas on. We're at the end here. So like I said, about a ½ inch from each side. 3 bananas, these small bananas fits this just about perfect. And then what I do is I usually just take a little, put the extra ones there. So let me wash my hands really quick. Give them a good rinse. Get rid of the bananas. Okay, and now what we're going to do is we're going to take that ooey gooey caramel and we're going to need a rubber spatula. And like I said, you want to use a thicker caramel, so I would probably use like, you know, the ones that's in the ice cream section that are a little bit thicker for ice cream sundaes. I would use that kind of caramel rather than the kind that you pour out of the bottle like syrup. You don't want like a thin caramel. And I'm only going to actually probably have to use 2 of these because the caramel, as it heats up and bakes, it's gonna spread out. But lightly, as light as you can, because you don't want to move those bananas too much. You want to take that caramel, and my fingers are clean, so you can spread it, you know, over the top. Because like I said, that caramel is it's gonna spread out. Okay, so there's one. If you wanted extra caramely, you can use as much caramel as you like, but we're just doing a light coating. Another thing that would be really, really yummy on this is if you took some cream cheese and softened it, you know, kind of whip it in a bowl before you try to spread it onto the pastry sheet, and spread it on the bottom, then lay the bananas on top, and then put the caramel. That would almost be like a banana Danish. I might have to do a video on that. We'll see. But that would be really good. So, but you want to make sure that you'd have your cream cheese softened, you know, get it at room temperature, whip it up a little bit, and then just kind of go over this and spread it, and then lay your bananas and your caramel on top. I'm only going to use 2 caramels because I think that's plenty. So, but we want to make sure, because this side doesn't have quite as much, that we get every little ounce of caramel out of there that we can. But a little bit of caramel really goes a long way, unless you're drinking it in coffee, and then the more the better. I'm a sucker for a caramel macchiato. Okay. Those are a downfall for me, especially in the summertime when you can have them iced. All right, so we got that. Now I really need to wash my hands. The last step I'm going to do, and this is optional, that's why I didn't name it as a ingredient, is I am going to take a little bit of some ground cinnamon, and I'm going to sprinkle just a little bit on top to give it a little bit of spice. So just barely shake it on top. Now, like I said, you do not have to add this ingredient. Actually, the one that I've already pulled out of the oven to show you did not have cinnamon on it, but at the last minute I thought, you know what, cinnamon might be good on this. So Now what we're going to do is we're going to kind of take those edges and you want to flip them over. And if they flatten out in the oven like mine did, don't worry about it. What we're doing is we're creating it from the caramel melting all over the pan and making it stick. So we're just kind of enclosing it a little bit. And you don't want to do it too much. You don't want to completely fold it over. You just want to fold the edges over the edge of the bananas that are right there. And like I said, just kind of push them in a little bit if you need to. And they will open up a little bit in the oven, so don't worry about that. Okay, so this is what it looks like when it's getting ready to go in the oven. You can see that the edges are all folded up, the caramel, the bananas, and as you can see, these containers, I don't know, these are probably 1 or 2 ounce containers of caramel, so you don't need a whole lot because it does spread. So there you go. Now I'm going to stick this in the oven at 375 degrees, and it's going to go in there for approximately 15 minutes. You want to make sure that your edges are brown and crisp, but you don't want them burned. So I took this one out of the oven about 15 minutes ago, and you can see I put it on my daughter's Minnie Mouse plate because it fits the best. But you can see how beautiful golden brown the edges are. The caramel's all cooked. The bananas have a little bit of gold to them. And what you can do is take a pizza cutter. Let's get a pizza cutter here. And you can just cut this into, see how easy it cuts? Cut it into some chunks here. Serve it with some whipped cream on top, vanilla ice cream, or just by itself. Look at that. And you can make your pieces as big or as small as you like. I'll show you. I'll pull up the corner here and see how it's all cooked and yummy and delicious. Look at that. Woo, I almost dropped it. But there it is. There's a really quick and easy banana tart. I guess I better take a little taste of it because this is the first time I've actually even made it. So I made it for you guys for the very first time. So let's taste it. The banana being baked is really good, and then it's got the caramel. It's not too sweet because you have the pastry below. Really, really good. And the other one has cinnamon on it, and that one the cinnamon will take away from that sweetness a little bit, but it's really, really not overly sweet. So delicious recipe. You got to try this one. Hope you enjoy it. Until next time, God bless. If you like this video, please hit the like button, and I'd love for you to subscribe to my channel. We have lots of fun videos along the way. And have a wonderful day.